Nikita, mute everyone.
Welcome to meeting number 201 of Turning Point Toastmasters. I am Nikita, your Sergeant at Arms for today. At Toastmasters, we provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communications and leadership skills, resulting in greater self confidence and personal growth. You are now inside the code of conduct of Toastmasters meeting. Please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and it may not be possible to pause the recording. Please follow the meeting rules. Please be advised that any behavior that disrupts the flow of this meeting will result to removal from the meeting room without any warning. Please ensure all your noise making devices are either switched off or on silent mode. You have 5 seconds to check that. Please speak responsibly on religion, sex, and politics in your speeches. As far as possible, keep your videos on, audios off, and applause flowing throughout. Be the kind of audience for others that you would like to have for yourself. Toastmaster of the day, table topic master, and general evaluator. Please ensure a smart audio and video check before handing over to respective role players. Role players, please rename yourself as prefix with the role that you're playing and suffix with any external club that you belong to. We encourage you to use Zoom emoticons generously to encourage our role players. We sincerely request you to not indulge in any chat messages, especially when a speaker is on stage. Reiterating, please stay on mute until asked otherwise. Polls will be launched after each section and will be closed shortly after. Now, I'd like to introduce the presiding officer of Turning Point Toastmasters. He is a recovering YouTube addict and a great music enthusiast, hails from Chandigarh and is working in Gurgaon as software engineer with Snapdeal, but funnily enough does not like technology. Please welcome Unique Kadnoria.
Thank you, Toastmaster Nikita, and we are glad that you are our tech master, not me. So, continuing with the meeting. So, welcome to the 201st meeting of Turning Point Toastmasters. First of all, I would just like to briefly mention what a Toastmasters Club is for the people or the members who are joining it for the first time. So, Toastmasters is an international organization which is committed to enable its members for improving their leadership and communication skills. How it accomplishes that is that it has clubs all over the world, and in these clubs you can improve your leadership skills as well as your communication skills via public speaking. So that's about Turning Point Toastmasters, and ours is one of the many clubs affiliated to Toastmasters International. Now coming to the meeting today. First of all, every meeting, like in every meeting, there is a very important section of the participants that we need to acknowledge, and that is our guest. So today we have some guests joining us, and I would like to announce their names right now, and we will get back to you for your detailed introduction as well as your feedback in the last section of the meeting. We have Toastmaster Diana joining us today. We have Shivam Singhal joining us today again from the last week. Welcome Shivam again. We have Sher Singh joining us. James Abraham has also joined us today. Welcome James. And we have Aman Ashish joining us today. Sunil Arora is also with us. And we have Chinmay joining us. And yeah, those are the guests who have joined us today. And we will definitely get back to you in the table topic section. We will try to get there and definitely get back to you in the feedback section.
We also welcome.
So now, just a few announcements before we go to the core of the meeting. Like always, there have been a few accomplishments from the members of our club. So our VPPR, Toastmaster Gayatri, has been exploring the territory in the eastern part of India. So she was and Toastmasters a day in Kolkata Advanced Toastmasters Club. Also, she was the sergeant at arms at a division contest in Kolkata. So making us proud again, Gayatri. And talking about making us proud, our immediate past president, Toastmaster Nimit, has just completed his level 3 in his path. So congratulations to you again, Nimit. This shows your commitment towards your journey. And yeah, please, a huge round of applause for them. And now to the 201st meeting of Turning Point Toastmasters. Now, some of you might be wondering that how come it is 201 after 199. So the thing is that we have a special meeting 200 planned out, and as Toastmaster Rupinder asked for nominations in the last meeting, we are glad that we have received many nominations, and we will get to all the people who wanted to participate and carry the process forward. And now to the meeting. So our Toastmaster Day is a very special person. Like I mentioned just a few sentences ago, she has been making the club proud again and again by participating all over the world in Toastmaster meetings. She's our current VP PR. She's an English language instructor as well as a meditation instructor by profession. And she again has a very interesting king plan today. So with a huge round of applause, let's welcome our Toastmaster of the day, Toastmaster Gayatri Deshmukh.
Thank you so much for such a wonderful introduction, Unique. I really like Unique. He always speaks all the good things about me. He never says anything bad about me. Unlike a few others, which you will get to know as you go ahead in the meeting. Everybody knows that I recently met with an accident. Guess what Rupinder asked me? Rupinder asked me, how did the accident happen? Who hit you? I told him, I'm Atma Nirbhar. I can slip on myself. I don't need somebody else to cause my accident. I can do it on my own. I'm efficient. Yes, that is the reality. I'm not overconfident. In the span of 2 weeks, I lost my grandfather. My marriage was broken. I had started a job, but because of COVID-19 situation here, all the classes were called off. In the span of 2 weeks, the city I live in, Nasik, was #1 in COVID cases throughout India, but my life was surrounded with such negativity that even my COVID test was negative. Mind you, I'm talking about from the city, which was #1 in COVID cases. But then, well, that's what life is about for me these days. I have more control over my emotions that I have over my hair. Okay, yeah, my hair are in much control. Just I need to get a hold of my emotions now. And this, my dear friends, was an example of dark humor. Dark humor is something where you spin a tragic event in a comic way. Often we come across situations in our lives where things are so bad that nothing worse can happen. And that is the time when you stop being sad about those things and instead you simply laugh at them. And that is where dark humor comes into play. I remember the other day, I was about to sit and my sister decided to pull the chair. And how many of you have been in a situation where cake or a pie was thrown into your face? I believe most of you have been in that situation, both the chair and the cake. And how many of you have noticed that these are the kind of comic or humorous situations often showed in the cartoons, especially the Mickey Mouse, Mickey and his friends, or Donald Duck, or when we are watching Uncle Scrooge, Goofy, and many others. That, my dear friends, is an example of slapstick humor. It's right there in the face. It's all for the kids. If slapstick humor is for kids, what is for the adults? Just when you start becoming a little sarcastic and start looking into the satires, that is the time when you become an adult humor. You enter the adult humor. The difference between slapstick humor and satire is that slapstick humor is in the face, you don't really have to think too much about it. A satire, on the other hand, can be a political satire, social satire, reflecting upon the conditions. Satire is something that is usually connected to intellectual. The most popular example of a satire globally would be Yes, Prime Minister, Say Yes to Smoking kind of movies. And for Indian audience, it would be Sarabhai versus Sarabhai. To give you a small example of satire, in one of the episodes of Sarabhai versus Sarabhai, the daughter-in-law Munisha says, I saw that dog, Chihuahua. To that, Maya Sarabhai said, that is so middle class, Monisha. It's not Chihuahua, it's Chihuahua. To that, Maya Sarabhai's friend says, Chihuahua is so upper middle class, Maya. It is Chihuahua. This was a satire taken on the social class system based on monetary gains of each and every family, or in terms of the response. This qualifies as a satire, wherein you start taking the negative aspects, you start picking the negative aspects of that certain thing or situation, it may be social, political, and spin it around in a comic way and make it little pointed. It pricks right where it should. One of the other popular examples of political satire for Indians would be something like a Jaane Bhi Do Yaro, which was a cult movie from the 80s. If I'm sure the younger generation has watched it, it is an uncommon example for the newer generation. But that is all about satire or sarcastic humor. And then there is a situational humor wherein nobody noticed it, but when I opened the meeting, I was wearing this particular top upside, I was wearing the back side of this top in the front and front side of the top behind. Nobody noticed it, but that just happened. Situational humor is more like the comedy of errors. It's more of a very light kind of humor wherein it's the situations that are comic. Nobody has to make an effort to make it comic. So here were the different types of humors. There are still some other styles of humors coming in front of you. We just spoke about the slapstick humor for kids, satire and sarcastic humor for adults, and of course the dark humor for legends. Personally, my humor is darker than the top I'm wearing. Jokes apart, I would like to now call upon our general evaluator for the day to introduce us to his team of evaluation. Believe me, all the people who are going to be introduced by general evaluator are already happy, because the moment they got to know I was a teamer, they were just happy not being introduced by me. Talking about a general evaluator, I asked him, what does he like to make fun of? And he said, Gayatri. I asked him, what about me he likes to make fun of? And he says, he finds me funny the moment he sees me. He finds me funny the way I conduct myself. He finds me funny when I speak after the sessions. I asked him if he thought I was a clown, and he said no. But I'll tell you a small secret about our general evaluator. He thinks that he's one of the most understanding people on planet Earth. I spoke to his wife. She has a very different opinion about that. I would like to call upon our general evaluator to tell us about his evaluation team and introduce us to the tag players. Over to you, Nimit Mittal.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, for introducing me and revealing all my secrets. And I will never leave you for that. But yes, very quickly, let me also introduce you what is my role today. So as the general evaluator, I would be noting down all what is happening in today's meeting. I would be evaluating each and every role player and this meeting as a whole as to how we fared on the grounds of preparedness, delivery, execution, enthusiasm, and observations. Okay, and just to help me out here, we have the tag team, And today's tag team is all girl par, and all of those have joined our club very recently. So I would also encourage you all to encourage them today as I call them up one by one on the spotlight, and I would be very briefly introducing them what would be their specific roles today. Starting with the timer, Paramita is going to time us all as the prepared speeches, the table topic speeches, and the evaluations. For the prepared speeches, she would be evaluating, timing them for 5 to 7 minutes, and she would be displaying the green, yellow, and red cards at the end of 5, 6, and 7 minutes, respectively. Likewise, for the table topics, she would be presenting her cards at the end of 1 minute, 1.5 minute, and 2 minutes, respectively. However, in the case of evaluations, she will be presenting those cards at the time of 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, and 3 minutes. Please note that there would be a 30-second grace period on either side for the prepared speeches and the evaluations. However, for the table topics, there would be a 30-second grace period only on the higher side. Next, we come to the R counter. The R counter today is going to evaluate us all as to how many filler words or the crutch words we are using, which are really not adding value to our speech. Okay, so it could be well, it means, or any unintentional pauses. So all these would be noted down by our R counter, Samriti. Next, we have the grammarian for the day, and as the name suggests, she would be noting down all the good and the bad usages of English grammar used in today's meeting. And she would be sharing her grammar report at the end. However, she also has an additional role to play today, and that is to introduce the word of the day. And I would request the grammarian Manisha to please unmute and share the word of the day for everyone's benefit.
Thank you, General Evaluator. Good evening, everyone. So, word of the day is stroll. It's a verb and it means to walk in a leisure way. So, for example, we can't imagine strolling these days in the street without catching the virus. Or how, as a kid, I used to love strolling in the park after doing my homework. I hope the examples have given you some clarity on how the word should be used. I would encourage everyone to use the word as much as possible. And towards the end of the meeting, I'll be back with you with a detailed report. Over to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you, grammarian, for that interesting word of the day. And with that, I would be also be back when the Toastmaster today calls me in the evaluation section with my tag team to present to you the evaluation report. And with that, I would stroll away from here and invite the Toastmaster today, who, when strolls into any meeting, can make the meeting lively and can just rock it. So can we have the Toastmaster today back, please?
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Nimit. Coming back to the styles of humor. He rejected me because I'm a potato today. But tomorrow I will be a French fry and he will crave for me. Usually, girls kiss a frog and that frog turns into a prince. I'm the only girl who kisses the prince and that prince turns into a frog. Yes, this, my dear friends, is the style of self-deprecating humor. However, while using self-deprecating humor, one has to be extremely careful about understanding a thin line difference between humor and low self-esteem. The thin line can blur at times, but one has to be extremely careful that while self-deprecating humor is being implemented, one should not go on that side of the line, that is low self-esteem. And that is one thing which one has to be very careful about while implementing next part of the humor, which is roasting the other person. Remember, my dear friends, you may punch up, but never punch down, meaning you can make a joke on someone who is privileged and who is in a good position, but never ever make a joke on someone who is oppressed. To give you a simple example to understand this punch up and punch down example, when a man comes on the stage and starts saying, I'm scared of my wife, she will beat me, we all laugh at it. But imagine when a woman comes on the stage and what if she says that I'm scared of my husband, he will beat me? Now no one is laughing because when it comes to domestic violence, women are considered as the oppressed section. So you cannot joke about a wife being scared of husband for beating. The other way around can be comic, but not in this way. Our first typical Toastmasters meeting is divided into three sections: prepared speeches, table topics, and evaluations. In the prepared speeches section, we have speakers who have prepared their speeches and will present their speeches. The time limit is 5 to 7 minutes. For table topics, as we are all aware, table topics is an opportunity for all the other people in the meeting who can get an opportunity to speak on a topic thrown at them. And time limit for the table topics is 1 minute to 2 minutes. And then comes the evaluation session where everyone gets ripped apart. Our first speaker of the day. Before I call upon our speaker of the day, I would like to call upon his evaluator to read out the objectives. Now, our first evaluator for the day, Ayushi Kumar, I asked her what is the funnest thing about her, and she said she keeps on forgetting. Ayushi, please lend me some money and forget about it. I would love you for eternity if you could do that. Okay, never mind. I would like to call upon Ayushi Kumar, our first evaluator, to read out the objectives for our first speaker.
Thank you, Gayatri, for the intro. And hello, everyone. I am today evaluating Rajesh's speech. So Rajesh will be giving his speech from Pathways, Leadership Development. He will be giving Level 2, Project 1. The purpose of the speech is managing time. Timer, please note that time limit is 5 to 7 minutes. I'll present my report in evaluation section. All the very best, Rajesh. Over to you, Gayatri.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Ayushi. I asked Rajesh, what is your best attribute as a personality? And he told me that he takes everything very lightly. I spoke to his wife. His wife told me all she has to do is go out for shopping without telling him. And after she comes back, we will get to know exactly how lightly he takes all the things. Coming on stage to rock the world, Rajesh Pagal. He has a meeting at 7:30, but he postponed the meeting the moment he got to know I was Toastmaster of the day. It's previous experiences. The lesser said, the better. Coming on stage, our speaker for the day, Rajesh Pagal, with his speech, 2 minutes. 2 minutes, Rajesh Pagal.
Can you please hear me properly? Am I audible and visible?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Can you please raise your hand if you have missed the train or flight because of 1 or 2 minute delay? And what was your reaction after that? Please ping me after this speech. In 2012, my marriage was fixed. I was in the cloud 9. At the last moment, my manager approved my leave. I had packed everything and left office 90 minutes before the departure of the train. I reached on the time, but when I go to the platform, the right platforms, I saw train was already started. I tried to catch the train, but the speed was so much which I cannot take. And I don't want to take the risk also because I'm going for a marriage. It is my marriage. For the next 60 minutes, I was completely blank. I was thinking that whether my marriage will be cancelled because if I will not reach on the times, and what will happen to my parents? They already selected a good uh, girl for me. If she will reject it, if the marriage will not happen this time, then maybe she can reject me. All those things are coming to my mind. I was really shocked for enter 60 minutes. Then I thought, no, I'll put a case to a station master that please do some things. Please allow me with the next train or some things we can do. Hello, Toastmaster. Dear guest, very good evening to everyone. Managing time, it provides an opportunity to find a solution and evolve as a leader. If when the person wins, we say that he or she demonstrated a good leadership. When it fails, there is a lot of lessons we have to learn and we have to implement. In my personal case, I'll share few stories which I faced both managing time successfully or failed in the time managing times. When I was there in the Accenture, I was working as a project manager and I was managing 3 different teams, around 40 people. So that times I was facing very difficult to manage all the 3 teams because of the time constraints. Lot of escalation happens. My on-site coordinator and on-site, I got lot of escalations. I was really bothered. Even I was not able to give time to my wife as well as the kid. Everyone is coming to my mat and my blood pressure was 150. So those cases, what I thought, better I can switch off, means better I can put the paper and try to search some other companies. Even that is the same thing happened. I put the paper and 1 month I was in the home, taking the complete rest and giving some times to my families. So those 1 months, I tried to find out what were the problems. Why I was so tense. I cannot manage the 40 members of team or 3 different teams. The lesson learned here, I saw that first one is that I'm unable to start the important task at a time. Second, I was not able to focus one task. So then I thought how I can mitigate those things. At the same time, I was doing the project management course. So one thing my mentor told me, use Kanban board. I hope most of the people here, they know the Kanban board. It is an agile methodology. And in the Kanban board, basically it is a board where we are putting that to do, what are the activities we need to do, and what are the activities in progress, and what are the activities it is done. So those things, it helps. As well as I focus on one Pareto principles that is called as 80-20 principles. So in the 80-20, basically all the 20%, sorry, 80% concerns, it happens because of the 20% cases or 20% issues. So if you can identify those things and you can mitigate, then definitely you can succeed. So these are the things which I try to apply in my next company. It is not about my company, it is even my personal life also. I apply the same things. Believe me, last 2 years, I was spending quality time with my family, and my wife is telling that yes, at least she is not bored now. So if I can manage my times, what are the tips or tricks you are using? Can you please write down and send it to me? Over to you, Toastmaster of the day, Gayatri.
Wow. Rajesh, interesting 2 minutes, I must say. Having said that, let's observe 1 minute of silence, and I request everyone to share their feedback with Rajesh on personal chat. Timer, kindly apprise me once the 1 minute is over. Okay, I believe the 1 minute is over.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much, Madam Timer. Now we shall move on to our second speaker for the day. But before that, let's call upon his evaluator. Now, his evaluator is none other than distinguished Toastmaster Rupinder Singh, father to a very handsome son who he believes has taken after his father. I believe a lot of people feel that he has taken after his mother, but well, never mind. He is also self-confessed wonderful husband. I believe his wife has another opinion about it. There is difference of opinion about his humor skills. He thinks he is hilarious. People think he's insufferable. Over to you, Rupinder Singh. We would like you to read out the objectives for our next speaker.
Before I read out the objectives, I would like to set the record straight about what happened after Gayatri's accident. I did not say Gayatri's been, in a way, economical with her truth, with her stroll in her storytelling skills. I actually asked her, how did the road feel after she fell down on it? That was what my question was. But strolling along, what might be a stroll in the park for our speaker today? Our speaker is going to deliver a speech from the Toastmasters mentoring program, which is the project is Introduction to Toastmasters Mentoring, in which he will talk about his experience as a mentee. Timer, please note that the time allotted for this speech is 5 to 7 minutes. Before I hand it back to our Toastmaster of the day, it will be probably my last day on earth if I give you my wife's contact number.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, distinguished Toastmaster Rupinder. Now, let us call upon stage our second speaker. Well, I asked him well, he's single, ready to mingle. And he says that if he is to have a girlfriend or even a wife for that matter, all the conversations will be on the text because he doesn't like to talk much. Girls, if you're really interested, I just want to set the record straight. He did not even respond to my text. Forget about talking. So if you're considering, just make sure you are well aware of the facts. He is going to be delivering a speech regarding mentoring, is what his evaluator told us. I asked him one person he would like to pull a prank on in Turning Point Toastmasters team, and he chose his mentor, Anshuman Mishra. Believe me, Shaurya, a lot of people are waiting to see you pull that prank on Anshuman Mishra. Coming up on stage, our second speaker for the day, Shaurya Chauhan. Shaurya Chauhan with his speech 601. 601, Shaurya Chauhan.
Into the valley of death rode the 600. Forward the light brigade. Was there a man dismayed? Not though the soldier knew someone had blundered. Into the valley of death rode the 600. Wow! Such bravery, such honor, such pride. I want to be like this when I grow up. I will be like this once I have better teachers. I will be unstoppable then. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and dear guests. 9 years old, I was 9 years old when my English teacher fumbled and mispronounced and embarrassed her way through this poem for our benefit. Somehow, putting my utter contempt for her incompetence aside, I was able to identify three cornerstones in this poem that would lead me to a warrior's life. Over the past 15 years, I have not been able to find many good teachers to help me do that. But I can proudly tell you that I have found all the three cornerstones. So, take out your notepads, my friends. Tonight, I reveal to you how to achieve all these three cornerstones, and that too, riding solo. Number one, courage. Terrible Tuesdays and turbulent Thursdays. Those would be the highlights of my week when I was 11 years old. At exactly 3 p.m., you would either find me hiding under my bed or on top of my bed with three blankets on top of me. But no matter how hard I tried, within the next hour, I would be standing frozen by the poolside with my life flashing before my eyes. If looks could kill, Master G, our very own cat-faced diving instructor, would have probably given Herr Hitler a run for his money. But to be honest, it was all water under the bridge till he decided to drop me from his evening class. And that is where I found cornerstone number one, courage. The next day, I joined the morning classes. Within 2 weeks, I was the youngest swimmer on the lab team. And 2 weeks from then, I was standing on the podium proudly, giving him the death stare at the next competition. Since then, I have left a lot of bad instructors swimming in their own tears. All thanks to courage. Number two, pride. After Mr. Catface came the cat lady, Professor Khosla, our very own in-house Dolores Umbridge. If you passed her in the corridor and did not greet her, she would probably fail you in the next submission. But if you passed her in the corridor and did greet her, she would bash you for trying to butter her up. Well, thank God I was a smart guy. I would just simply change my path whenever I saw her. But then things went south when she decided to cross my path. Probably irritated with me, she decided to abdicate all her duties towards me and made one of my friends my mentor. Well, initially, I was really angry, but then I discovered cornerstone number two, pride. Since I had been relieved of all my obligations to repeat to her, I decided to go in the completely opposite direction. By the end of the semester, our internal examiner, as well as the internal examiner, told me that I had excelled at out of the box thinking. Well, since then, she has been the one changing her path whenever she sees me. And that is how I realized I had a little bit of pride hiding inside me somewhere as well. Now, number three, honor. Rajput. Rajput. This word, this clan, this background has been a large part of my childhood. A long handlebar mustache, a big head, and the shortest temper that you find around you. That has been my interpretation of that word throughout my life. So one day, an ill-fated, ordinary classmate of mine decided to make a sly remark at my mustache. Now, turbocharged by my pride and my courage, I challenged him to a battle. From that battle, he left with a broken elbow, and I left with a week's suspension. Mission accomplished. Honor defended successfully. That day, having found all my three cornerstones, I decided to go back to that one poem that had led me to this place. And then I realized that my very own favorite English teacher had actually decided to omit some parts of the poem when she had first narrated it to us. Those parts read as follows. The magnificent 600, they that had fought so well, came through the jaws of death, back from the mouth of hell. All that was left of them, left of 600? Wait, what? They had not actually won. So their courage is not measured by what they wanted, Their pride is not judged by what they desired. Well, their leader had blundered, so they could not get what they wanted. But it did give them the opportunity to choose their own identity in that moment. It gave them a shot at creating their own glory. Today, as I look back at all these mentors, the ones who I found incompetent, the ones who were cat faced, I still don't like them, but I also don't hate them. Actually, I never really had any reason to hate them. They were not the teachers that I needed. I did not consider them good teachers, but they were the motivators that I needed. I wanted them to help me run, but maybe they wanted me to find my feet first. Courage, pride, honor, these are not skills that anybody can teach you. They have to be awoken from deep inside you. And as I found the hard way, the process is not always pretty. So all I can do today is thank them for pushing me into the valley of death with the 600, the valley where I discovered that I could also be a part of the Lightning Brigade. They made me the self-righteous 601st. Over to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you so much for that wonderful speech, Shaurya. I now request everyone to take 1 minute to share their feedback with the speaker. Timer, kindly apprise me once the 1 minute is over. Meanwhile, I also request the presiding officer to launch the polls. Kindly vote for the speaker you thought was best today. That backdrop is for me to remember that I have to be silent for 1 minute. It's not that easy.
Yeah, 1 minute over.
Wow, thank you so much. I request everyone to please, well, voting is done there. And now let us begin with our next session. But before that, let us recap quickly on the styles of humor we just saw. We saw dark humor, slapstick humor, satire or sarcastic humor, self deprecation, and roast. But there is one more humor which is more often than not a huge success everywhere. And that humor is using your own failures to put across a message in a humorous style. Like last year, when this COVID-19 situation began, I was tied down to one place. I was not traveling. So I started dating online. There was this very good looking boy, pretty intelligent. He was an IITian. We dated online and soon we broke up online. And now he's my WebEx. That was the pun I played upon. You noticed it? Please tell me you noticed it. WebEx, he became my ex WebEx. Please don't beat your brains. Oh, thank you so much. You got the humor there. And on that note, it's just so happened that, failures are something that happen to everyone. In 2014, I decided I would start running. The decision hasn't changed. It's just that my health life is more hopeless than my romantic life at the moment. Yes, this is the running joke of my life. These days, even my jokes are running, but I am not running. However, that becomes a part where you spin your failures and make everyone laugh with your failures. This is one way of coping up with those failures because no failure can keep you down. You can always rise up after every time you have fallen down. Talking about that, we shall now move on to our table topic section. And our table topic master today is a very interesting human being. I asked him which was the funniest moment of his life, and he says, definitely not my marriage. Seriously, Anshuman Mishra, not your marriage? that just told everything. I then asked him that, Anshuman, you always deliver humorous speeches. In fact, everybody looks at Anshuman when they want to deliver a humorous speech. And we all know about all the other humorous people of our club, like Rupinder Singh, Anant Katyayani, always looking at their wives when all the other jokes fail them. I asked Anshuman Mishra, hey Anshuman, why didn't you ever crack a joke on your wife? It would be a big success. He said, it's too early. I don't want her to dump me immediately after we have got married. And it's COVID-19 situation, so the situation can get worse. Okay, quite understandable, Anshuman. I completely understand. I asked him, he likes to make fun of whom? Himself or others? And he said he likes to make fun of himself. Believe me, I'm still waiting for him to unleash that beastly side of his that he always talks about. Over to our table topic master for the day, Anshuman Mishra. Over to you, Anshuman.
Thanks a lot, Gayatri, for that empathetic introduction. Gayatri conveyed to me this afternoon that I have a generous amount of time available. So we're going to divide this section into two parts. The first one, you're going to get simple table topics to practice about. In the second part, we're going to build a story. So before moving to the second section, let me start with the first victim culprit, who's an experienced Toastmaster. Who's it going to be? Jennifer, ma'am. Can we spotlight Jennifer, ma'am? Perfect. Oh, sorry. All right. I don't think she's here. Anant raised his hand. Anant, do you want to go first?
Sure. We also have Diana who is raising her hand. So you pick. Wants to go first?
Sure, Diana. Diana, are you visible? All right. Diana, your favorite comedy movie? Your favorite comedy movie, Diana? Yes, Rush Hour was my favorite movie also. Loved it in childhood. And Andy Murray for sure. Fantastic. Any favorite scene you have from that movie? Do you remember any? Eddie Murphy, yes. Rupinder, like always there to correct me. That's a joke in itself. Thank you, Diana, for that, for rekindling those Rush Hour memories from childhood. Wish I could go back. Who's going to be next? Anant, do you want to take a start?
I go next.
Yep. Which is the stand-up comedian you adore? Which is the stand-up comedian you adore, Anand?
Say again.
Which is the stand-up comedian you adore? Which is the stand-up comedian you adore, Anand?
I adore the most Mr. Raju Srivastav. He's an Indian comedian, and his comedy style is always about observing human behavior. So, for example, I am right now getting inspired by him, and I am noticing the behaviors of this animal beside me. And maybe very soon I will have some humorous speech prepared. Another humorous speaker or comedian that I adore the most globally is Robin Williams. Mr. Robin Williams again was someone who could liven up any stage, any situation instantly. He didn't need any prop. He didn't need any, a stage act per se. It was just his impromptu, humorous mannerism. Put animation artists to shame when he played the genie in the famous Aladdin, the animated movie. These animation artists, the graphic designers, they had a tough job at their hands to match up to his vocal mannerisms. And one final comedian, the genius, the gold standard of comedy of all time. That gentleman is, of course, hands down, he is my favorite of all time, Kader Khan. Now, Kader Khan, again, an Indian Bollywood actor, he was not just a comedian, he was also a lyricist, a poet, a dialogue writer, a director, a brilliant actor of all kinds, of all shades and all the situations. So that is why he could make it an excessively humorous act. He could also at the same time make it a tragically humorous act, and that is what his versatility that inspires me the most. So to sum it up, two Indian geniuses, Mr. Raju Srivastava, a stand-up comedian, a Bollywood actor Kader Khan, and of course the globally adored Robin Williams. I like watching their clips again and again and again on YouTube. So over to you, Anshuman.
Thanks a lot, Anand. I adore all of them, and quite sure in these difficult times currently, such artists definitely keep us engaged and happy throughout the day. Who do we have next? I can see Geeta on the screen. Geeta, will you like to know next?
Yeah, hi, hello.
Hello. So in terms of 80s, 90s, 2000, 2010s, which is the decade you love the most and why? Which is the decade you love the most and why, Geeta?
Okay. The decade that I love the most is 80s. 80s because naturally I'll relate it to myself. I was in college then. I was in college and that was the most beautiful time that I had spent. Nobody can forget the college life. I was in a place like Shillong, a beautiful hill station. And though my father had lots of dreams, lots of expectations from me, he had sent me to study in Shillong Lady Keane College with a dream that I'll be becoming a doctor to take up science. And what I did was I agreed. When we were going from Guwahati to Shillong, he convinced me. I was all set to take up arts, but he convinced me during those few hours that since he's spending so much of money on my hostel fees, I should take up science. I went there. By the time I reached Shillong, my mind took a complete U-turn and I took up science instead of arts. But believe me, I was far away from science. What all I did was enjoy my life there, enjoying to the utmost. No doubt I did not do very well with my studies during that period, but that is what, if I get back to that decade, I will certainly focus more on my studies. But I cannot forget the lovely time that I spent during that particular. I cannot forget the time spent in my hostel in Shillong, the beautiful place that I went around with my friends. It was amazing. It was amazing. And I'll tell you one incident about taking up science. When I was in the practical lab, when I went dissecting the fish, it was a fish, and the way it jumped up, the moment it jumped up, I was so scared. The teacher who was there next to me, he just told me, he was a South Indian. He said, Geeta, if you cannot take up science, if you're so scared, why did you take up science? I said, sir, it's all because of my father. He wants me to become a doctor. And he said, doctor, I doubt if you can ever become a doctor. Thank you. Over to you, table topic master.
Thanks a lot, Geeta. Definitely, I think college memories have had very interesting stories associated for all of us. Now, moving on to the next section, I'd like to invite two folks at a time, and timer request is to time for 4 minutes together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a situation. The first person has to start building that situation, narrative around that situation, and the second person has to carry forward. Once the second person is done, the second person has to pass the baton to the first person. So for example, I tell, say, I went to college on the first day and I was ragged. So the first person starts that I was being ragged by my seniors, and the seniors started asking me such questions. And then you pause, the second person takes it up. The second person then passes to the first person. I hope that's clear. So for the first one, I'd like to invite, I can see Shiva, and who else it's going to be? Gaurav. Shivam and Gaurav. Are you both ready?
Sure. Hello.
All right. And Techmaster has done a good job of joint spotlighting both of them. So Shivam, I'm going to give you the topic first. You have to start building the story. And whenever you feel like pausing, just pause, and Gaurav will take it forward, and so forth. All right. Shivam, you've gone on a date and forgotten your wallet. You've gone on a date and forgotten your wallet, Shivam.
So I had gone on a date that itself starts with a very big humor, because I've never gone on a date. But definitely, if I ever go on a date, I'll definitely try to forget my wallet.
Okay.
Pause is a cue for you, Gaurav. You can go ahead.
Okay. I have also gone on a date and I forgot my wallet. So those were not the times when you had the digital currency with you, or you can have a Paytm or Google Pay with you. But so you needed to have someone to have, you have to coax someone around you like a waiter, that you will pay the bill later, or you have to call your friends out.
So when I was calling my friend out, I suddenly realized that I've not told them that I'm going on a date. And when I realized that, I knew how bad of a situation I am, because I can still remember a lot of sitcoms of the 80s and the 90s where whenever a person wants to leave, they just say that I want to go to you, and they just go away from here. And that was the best thing that I could have done at that point of time.
Yeah, this is the worst thing when you don't tell your friends you're going on a date, because they get a chance to make fun of you and to teach you a lesson. I have also witnessed the same. I haven't told my friends, so when I called them, they would say with whom we have gone. So they will call the other someone else to let the person know that I am out. So then it's a very tricky situation.
So the perfect thing to come out of that situation that I had, thanks to God that I had that peace of mind, that I offered the person who was the manager my car keys. And I said that I'm really sorry. I apologize that I don't have the money. And please don't take away my car, but I'll come tomorrow and I'll pay the money. And that was the point I asked her to stroll away with me.
I remember that once if you have a car with you, if you have a good rapport with the manager, you can tell him that you are used to
used to come to this place, and they can send some person with you to get the money, because you have a car, so you can easily play him or easily help you understand your situation.
And that's when I told him that, my friend, my dear friend, have you ever gone on a date? He said, not really, sir. I'm married for a long time now. And that's when I told him that, my friend, I will get the money again and again. I can go back and forth, but I'll never get the girl back. And that was the point in time when I told him, let it be for now. Probably, if you ever get on this situation, you will realize. So please help me. I don't want to beg you. But if I had to, I'll do it inside the office, not in here. And I just told him, leave me be for now.
Oh, empathy. I think it needs when there is a generation gap, you can't expect empathy in these cases. I can understand he won't be able to realize what kind of situation you are in when he has not gone on date for since long. But still, there are other ways how you can coax him. Then you have to tell him, what if his son goes on date and he forgets his wallet? You have to play the emotional card.
And to sum it all up, I would say that once I started my statement, it was already started with a if, because I know that I'll never go on a date again. Over to you.
Thank you. That was definitely quite hilarious and innovative. Thank you, Gaurav and Shivam, for attempting that. Who's it going to be next? We have Arunima raising her hand, and we'll do cool, and we have Aman. Arunima and Aman. Are you both ready? So both know the rules. I'm going to give you a situation. One has to start and pause wherever you feel you would like to pause. And you have to build a story. It's not going to be a fact. It's going to be a story. All right. So you're going to home at night. It's 1 a.m. at night. And you're feeling scared and spooky. And there's a guy chasing you from the back. And assume gender to be the same for both of you. Over to you, Arunima.
Thank you, Anshuman. So I have been in one situation when I was coming back from the office and I booked an Uber for myself. I left my office at 1:30 a.m. and that time my office was in Delhi and my home is in Vishali. So I had to cover like go to UP, which is like Ghaziabad, the scariest of all, and you have all the stories like what can happen. And to my surprise, my driver, when we were on the halfway, my driver stopped the car and he told me he can't go ahead. And I was like, why? Because he said that there is some UP water or something. He does not has the permit and he can't go. And can you imagine like 1:30 in the night, m- I'm alone and then this thing happens. And then that time when I was booking the Uber, I could not get. I just came out of the car and I saw there was a car following me and I got really scared who the person was. Then I noticed it was my friend who lives near me since she saw me passing my Uber right from there, since she also has a workplace there. She was following me to ask for help. To my surprise, I wonder if she could have given me a call.
Aman, over to you.
So, I mean, even I've been in such a situation, and me being a man is kind of odd. So, I used to have really long hair a few years ago, and I'm a pretty skinny dude, and I'm fair. But I don't know if any of these contributed to me being catcalled. But I mean, I got catcalled, and these guys. But I also used to keep my beard long so that there is no confusion. And so these guys, they walked past me. They didn't see my face. Uh, and after, they turned around, they looked at me, and we both were disappointed, pretty disappointed, because I was disappointed in them for, catcalling, and they were disappointed in me for having appeared, and that's pretty much it. Over to.
All right. Thank you. The okay. The intention of the activity was for you to both copy the story together, but it's interesting to hear your individual stories also. That is hilarious, and definitely those are things which make things comedy. Anyhow, next two. So we're going to do one more pair and then one individual one because of time constraints. All right. Who's going to go next? Who's not playing any role today? All right, so one Victor. Victor, do you want to?
Do I want to do what?
Do you want to go for the next table topic?
Yeah, I'd love to go for the next table topic, but since I'm driving a car, you will not be afforded the pleasure of seeing my mug. I can just give you my voice. How's that?
Yeah, sounds good. So I'm going to give you like an individual table topic. All right, what makes the grass green on the other side? What makes the grass green on the other side, Victor?
What makes the grass green? Well, actually, the grass is not really green. It's just our imagination that's making it green. In fact, in some parts of the world, the grass doesn't even look green. And the reason it doesn't is because the people don't have an active imagination. Those of us with an active imagination, a rich imagination, we can stroll along and see green grass, even where there is concrete. I never get enough of engaging my imagination because when I use my imagination to make grass that's not green look green, it's a pleasant sensation. Somehow green is an appealing color for nearly every one of us. And that is why we also make our money green in America. We love the color green, and we love the color green on grass, and we love the feel of grass on our feet. So in terms of what makes the grass green, I don't know that anybody really knows what makes the grass green in real life. But my assessment is if everything else happens because of our imagination, why wouldn't it be that the grass is green based on our imagination? So be glad, not so much for the green grass as you are for your imagination. Because your imagination, why, it's king, it's ruler. And you can imagine yourself to be anything. In fact, you can imagine me to be anything right now because you can't even see me. But then imagination has its drawbacks as well, because there's no way that you can imagine me to be as good looking as I really am. Let's stay with topics, man.
Thank you, Victor. Definitely, imagination makes the grass green, orange, blue on the other side. And for the last one, I'd like to invite two folks to conclude. Do we have like James and Cher are the ones I can see? Are you both ready, Cher and James?
If you insist.
All right, definitely. All right, so your situation is, and just to finally narrate the rules, that you have to build a story and then you have to pause. The other person has to start where the first person ended the story, and then again start and then pause, and the first person has to take it forward. So you have to just like pass the baton forward and backward. All right. Cool. So Cher, you have been selected by NASA to go on Mars. You've been selected by NASA to go on Mars, Cher.
Yes, I have been selected to go on Mars, and it was good opportunity. I think it is given to very few people, and I am now one of them. And I am feeling so different from other people, and it is a lifetime achievement, or would be lifetime achievement for me. Yes.
And yeah, and Cher tried. She was so happy that Cher called up all his family members, relatives, and said that this is the time that we need to. I'm going to throw a party to celebrate the this 1 in a million chance of going to space, and that to an Indian, and that too from Delhi. And this is something which is going to happen, something special. And that's the day, in the night at 8 p.m. Mr. Modi came and said, Bhaiyo, Behno, and he said, your and he said this, all your 2,000 rupees notes and everything is now getting banned from today.
Yes, again, as I'm going now, I am imagining that how the environment would be on Mars, and the dream already has come to started in my mind, and I'm living like in a heaven. That what would happen next, whether I would be able to come back on Earth or not, and yes, now my attitude has been changed and feeling so different. Yes, James.
And his wife is telling, Bhardo tera attitude. It is not the point. You called 200 people and we don't have a single rupee in our hand. And what are you going to do about that? You may go to Mars, you may not go to Mars, I don't care. But now I need to run this party next week and I don't have money.
See, the opportunity is not very simple. It is a given once in a while, and or very rarely. As being Indian, the opportunity has given to us, and I won't, uh, I won't would like to lose this. I will do anything for this, and yes, definitely I will fight till my last breath to take this opportunity.
I agree. But then the point is, how about your relatives and friends whom you have invited? Because you are having a lakh plus in your hand in cash and you don't have a way of using that. Now, you are talking about going to Mars, but I will not allow you to step out of this house if you are not finding a way to celebrate your party with your friends. You find that first, Mr. Husband. I am not going to allow you to step out of this house. Forget Mars, not even to the next shop.
My friend party is not a big thing. I think everybody eating every day, anything or something. So party we can have at another day. But are you comparing this thing going to Mars through through NASA, and compare? You are comparing a party with it. I think there is no logic. Think about NASA. My name would be uh, on history. People will remember me in history. So a party is just will be remembered 1 or 2 days only. So my friend, I am going by hook or by crook.
And that is how he convinced his wife, and she said, fine, thank you. I think this is truly an honor which I'm so happy that my husband is going to take. So I personally will call everybody and will apologize to everybody and will cancel the party, because this is bigger than the party and this is the biggest honor to all of us. Thank you.
Yeah, yes, handing over to Toastmaster. Thank you.
Thank you, Shade James, for that meaningful conversation between a husband and wife. Demonetization, Mr. Modi, and going to Mars. Definitely, that completely made sense. But definitely, that was quite humorous and added to the glamour of the day. And that is it. That is from my end. And our presiding officer has instructed me to take a group fee. Not me, but I request Gayatri, who's the PR head, to take
It just so happens that I was supposed to do it before the table topic section began, but as usual, I forgot. So kindly request everyone to please switch on your cameras and smile. You can show your teeth. It looks good. Let's get a close-up Colgate smiles on our faces. And we have a special guest with Anant Katyayani with a smile. Okay, there we go. 1, 2, 3. Thank you so much, everyone.
And and I've got another instruction. I'm feeling like a NASA Mars operator. So Rupinder sir has asked me to introduce the Sunday meeting poster as well. So Unique, will you like to do the honors?
Nimit.
Nimit, will you like to do the honors?
Okay, so we would like to call Nimit to share the Sunday poster.
Thank you very much for the lovely round of table topics and introducing and me back to introduce the Sunday's poster. But before that, let us vote for the best table topic speaker. And meanwhile, let me pull up the poster which I'm going to share with you. Thank you very much. And just to give you insight about Sunday, as we are meeting today, we also meet on Sunday afternoon, that is 1:30 p.m., which gets to UTC plus 5:30. Okay, so we meet there and then we are having a ball of a time, but then this time we are going to learn a bit more about our health, our food and nutrition. So we have the Toastmaster today, Ayushi, who would be enlightening us about that. And it so becomes so important in these times when we increase our immunity and become strong from inside. And for that, let me share my screen. For that, I request the Tech Master to please give me the co-host access momentarily.
You can share screen now.
Yeah. So this is the poster on food and nutrition, and it would be taken up by the Toastmaster today, Ayushi. And for that, she's a very able candidate because she has a green juice every day. She's going to tell us all about good things to have and not junk. Okay, so stay tuned for that, and you've got the registration link for that meeting on your chat window right now. And with that, over to you, the table topics master or the Toastmaster today.
Thank you so much, Mr. General Evaluator. We spoke about various styles of humor. We also took a peek into how each of this humor is implemented. Now the question arises as to how you can implement these various styles of humors into your speech. While crafting any humorous speech, there are two things one has to identify before crafting a humorous speech. First, you need to know your audience very well. You don't want to be presenting husband-wife jokes in front of all single audience. And you don't want to be presenting all the single jokes in front of married audience. Audience awareness is especially important when you have a cultural mix of audience, when you have audience from various parts of the world, or in case of India, even audience from various parts of the country. A joke which might be relevant for audience in Mumbai may not be relevant for audience in Delhi. For example, if somebody cracks up a joke on local trains, a Mumbai audience would laugh at it, but a Delhi audience might wonder, what is a big deal? Likewise, if you crack a joke on metro train services, a Delhiite will connect with it, a Mumbaiite will not. So, audience awareness is of utmost importance while presenting a humorous speech. Not all the humor will be universal. Some humors can be audience specific. Some humors can be considered as comedy or humor or laughable in certain cultures, but in other cultures, it might not be as funny. After identifying your audience, next step is to identify your own niche. What kind of humor are you good at? Are you good at the slapstick humor? Or you're good at roasting people? Or is it more like satire your way? You need to identify what kind of humor comes to you naturally. When you sit and you look at a certain situation, can you find a comic way of spinning that situation? If yes, then yes, you have found your niche. If you sit and you can think about funny things about a certain aspect of a situation or certain aspect of a person, then yes, you have found your niche. So, my dear friends, next time you're crafting a humorous speech, make sure you know your audience well and you have found your niche. You might have to experiment a bit, but then what is Toastmasters platform for if not for practicing? You can make your mistakes here. And I urge all of you to take up various styles of humor and implement in your speeches. Having said that, there are a few things that I would like to apprise all of you on. I spoke a lot about my journey. I spoke a lot about my accident. But I have not always been like that, you know. I mean, every time since last year, I decided now I will join the gym. The government decided to close all the gyms. I remember when I was really very young, I used to say that when I grow up, I will help the poor people. I grew up, and guess what? I am the poor people now. It's not easy, guys. It's not easy. I'm sure you recently heard the speech by the Prime Minister of India. Yeah, that one about the lockdown. No lockdown, but strict restrictions. It was more like, I love you, but as a friend. I posted it on Facebook. That was the only post without a picture which got more than 50 likes. Whenever I talk out of context, I mean, honestly speaking, whenever I start feeling very good about myself, whenever I start feeling like my confidence is sky high, I call Anand Katyayani. He sets the record straight. He gets me back to ground. In fact, he digs the ground 7 feet under and puts me under that. Sometimes I tend to, stray off a bit from the topic. And every time I talk irrelevant, Anand asks me, have you fallen on your head? Yesterday, when he asked me that, I had to actually say yes, because during the accident, I did really fall on my head. You can see the scar over here. Things changed for me after accident. So yeah, that happened. Now my question to you is, I came up with about 5 to 7 punches sitting here just like that. Do you think I did really come up with these punches just sitting here like that? The answer is no. The trick is to maintain a humor diary. Over a period of time, you tend to come across several humorous statements. You come across several humorous incidences, humorous events that take place around you. We tend to forget it. The trick is to note them down. Personally, I have a notepad wherein I have enlisted all these events, enlisted all these humorous phrases, humorous sentences, which I can use about myself or sometimes about other people. This is one way wherein you can collect all these humorous statements and humorous events, and whenever you have to deliver a speech, you can pick and choose which of these humorous statements are more relevant to the topic you have selected. You might not need all of them at once, you might not use all of them at once, but over a period of time, you get a hang of it, and this humor diary serves its purpose to the best. All these steps, all these information that I shared with you today, none of it is original, because how I got to know about all these tricks is I recently attended the humor workshop organized by Toastmasters International. It was a 2-day workshop. I attended those 1.5 hour, 1.5 hour, 2 sessions. I collected all the information given there. I jotted down, and what I thought was something I could present best in front of the TPTM members. I shortlisted all the points and shared them with you. I hope these points were good enough. I will get to know whether they are good enough or not, because now comes the evaluation section. The section where everyone is going to be taken on the operation table and dissected. A proper postmortem report is going to be submitted soon. Watch out, guys, because now is coming the lead surgeon of this entire process. Coming on stage, general evaluator for the day. He does not have a collar today, but still he's tightening his collar. Toastmaster Nimit Mittal. Over to you, Nimit.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, for enlightening us indeed today. And I am the first learner you've got today for sure. Okay, very quickly, let us evaluate the table topics. Okay. So we started with Diana, my favorite comedy movie. First of all, I would just like to give you full marks for your commitment, and with your special abilities, you are surely a very popular and inspiring figure already at our club, and I'm sure at many other clubs as well. So thank you for being here and inspiring us all, and would like to you to keep coming. One thing which I really liked is how you used the the other tools you've got, like the chat window, to communicate with us all and be engrossed in the meeting. So that is something to take for us all. Next, we come to Anand, the stand-up comedian you adore. Good to see you using Oreo approach, and you, well, one thing which I really loved is you used your surroundings well into use. That is your baby himself, and it was a good presence of mind. One thing which I probably can suggest you is that you take a little less time in when you took while revealing the third comedian you adore. Perhaps you thought a little bit, but then you justified it very well later on. Geeta Kashyap, decades you love the most. Thank you really for taking us down the memory lane to the golden period which we all share, and reciting a very nice story, and in also a very nice role play between you and your professor. I just felt one thing here, that you summarized in the middle, but then you also had one another incident to share which came later on after your summary. So perhaps you can just think about the structure, and otherwise it was all very good. Next we had the pairing of Shivam and Gaurav, and I would really like to give you the feedback together. So it was very well complemented, and it was indeed very humorous as well. And you were very well aware of time, so you really timed it well and kept us engaged right till the end. I would have loved if you could build more up on the other person's speech, right? And just to add to that story rather than uh, holding on to your personal stories and opinions. So that would have given it a better outcome of that speech. Arunima and Aman, I mean, I really loved how you started with the personal story, a very relatable story in Delhi NCR. Having said that, one thing again would have been better could be that you complement each other and add to uh, each other's story rather than sharing your own individual ones, so that it could come up as a one well-rounded story. Victor, and the reason being the imagination, a very nice message shared at the end, and a very, again, a presence of mind used to extend that imagination to your current situation. That is, you are driving and you cannot switch your video on, and indeed, you must be a beautiful person. James and Cher, I mean, kudos to you both, because you really complemented each other well. You used a nice touch of imagination, and James bringing the story to life as he added more depth and drama to the story, making it even interesting. Well done on the wife's part to summarize and coming at peace in the end. This is for James. and share. I mean, you started on the present, in the present tense, and with the full imagination. One thing which I felt was you could have appended to what James said about demonetization, and there was a scene break in between and went to a common conversation between husband and wife right after the demonetization. But all overall, it was very hilarious. I especially like that how party became a bigger issue than the Mars mission itself. So with that, I would now like to call upon the speech evaluators. Speech evaluator number one, who was Ayushi. She would be evaluating Rajesh's speech.
Hello, everyone. So there is a famous quote that take care of minutes and the hours will take care of themselves. So today, I would like to congratulate the speech for, for the excellent speech. Your speech is such a timely topic, time management, the topic which everybody could relate. In my analysis, classic speech opens with a quote, phrase, or, or a short story, and your speech did the same. You engage the audience in the starting only by asking that who all missed the flight for 2 minutes, and then you added your story. So I really like the dynamic opening of your speech. Your speech triggered new ideas and learnings, like you mentioned about 80-20 technique and about the uh, agile one. Your speech was very captivating as well because it has the personal touch, and the time management was wonderfully explained with personal stories. You mentioned you maintained smooth speed throughout the speech, and your hand gestures were really complementing your speed and action. So very good try on that. There are a couple of recommendations for you. That conclusion is something that leaves the stage with a maximum impact. So which could have been improved a bit. So instead of asking the audience, so you could have given the audience like some kind of tips on time management. But the next time that you can try some kind of void modulations, like when you are transition between the different stages of speed. For example, a kind of puzzled emotion. So when you told the story that you have missed the flight during the marriage, and a very sad emotion or a sad face while saying that that there were few escalations in your office. A very small tip: smile more, because a simple smile can always lighten up your speech. Overall, it was a wonderful speech. You were very passionate about your topic, and your speech left an impact upon us that how should we manage our time at our workplace. Very pleased to hear you, and all the best for your next speeches. Thank you. Over to you, journal evaluator Nim.
Thank you very much, Ayushi. And now we quickly move on to the second evaluator, Rupinder, evaluating Shaurya's speech.
Half a league, half a league, half a league onward, all in the valley of death, rode the 600. Thank you, Shaurya. One of my favorite poems, The Charge of the Light Brigade by Lord Alfred Tennyson. What a wonderful start. But even before that, you had me captivated with the very intriguing title of 601. What I also liked about your speech was the wonderful vocal variety and the clarity with which you spoke More importantly, the relaxed manner in which you spoke, you did not seem hurried at all. Loved some word usages, terrible Tuesdays and turbulent Thursdays. Courage, pride, honor. Nice, uh, I would say, triad. Some very good use of metaphors, swimming in their own tears. And I loved the vivid descriptions of all the characters. Master G, being a Rajput, and many other characters that I missed. Now, in a speech that was this wonderful, what can possibly be better? I have a few suggestions. You took the name of a character, Dolores. I don't know who that is. And chances are, if somebody as ignorant as me doesn't know who that is, then there might be other people who might not know who that is. So maybe a little bit of description, because you went about describing the other characters in your story so well. Maybe describing Dolores, a sentence or two would have helped. You had a humorous speech. I would have wanted you to use the pauses to greater effect. You had the benefit of looking at the audience. Your audience was laughing. Maybe give them a moment to consume their laughter. I would last and final recommendation. Maybe you want to allude to how you were the 601st in the beginning of the speech. So when you say all in the valley of death rode the 600, then you say that I was the 601st of them. Now, what it does is it creates intrigue. That how is it? Yeah, we've heard that poem. We know it was 600. How are you the 601st? Why am I saying this? Because I'm coming back to my commendations. That closing was so effective, where you called out each of your behaviors, courage, pride, honor, and then you closed with how I am the 601st. It would have closed the loop. So yeah, work on the knowing the characters, pauses, and maybe just add that 601st. There's not to make reply, there's not to reason why, there's but to do and die. All in the valley of death wrote the 600. Thank you for reminding me of my favorite poem, one of my favorite poems. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Rupinder, for sharing your speech evaluation. And I'm sure all the speakers feel empowered now after hearing those wonderful evaluations by both of you. Can we have a poll for the best evaluator, please? So it's there on your screen now. I'm doing my bit, you can do yours. And with that, I would also like to very quickly evaluate the evaluators. I believe there was nothing much to say because you didn't put a foot wrong, I believe. The speech objectives were well read by both of you. The CRC method was followed, and they were indeed very meaningful to the speaker. You praised, personalized, and the advice you gave was generic in nature. Only thing which I felt, and that was for Ayushi, that you could have used I statements a little more while sharing your suggestions and recommendations rather than you statements, and I believe that would have created more impact. Uh, Nevertheless, a very useful evaluation for the speakers by both of you. With that, let us move on to our tag reports in the opposite order. So I would request the grammarian first to come up, please, and share her grammarian report.
Thank you, General Evaluator. As we stroll towards the evaluation section, I would like to share my screen to give a more comprehensive and detailed overview of my report. So starting with improvements or suggestions, not too many of them, so I would start with the suggestions. A speaker said, I am today evaluating XYZ. So when we are talking about time or say place, we do not position it before the verb. So it should have been towards the end of the sentence. For example, I am evaluating XYZ today, or towards the beginning of the sentence. Today, I am evaluating XYZ. Second, a speaker used, can you raise your hand? So rise is used when something rises on its own. For instance, sun rises on its own, right? When you're referring to hand, a person has to engage effort to raise it, right? So it cannot, the word rise cannot be used there. Third, all those things are coming to my mind. Here, the speaker was specifically talking about the past. So we need to be cognizant of the tense in which we are speaking. If you're telling the story of the past, all those things were coming to my mind. Additionally, a speaker said repo, which in informal language refers to reputation, but since we are in a formal setup, it would have been appreciated if the speaker would have said reputation instead of repo. Another speaker said something everyone could relate. I'm not sure if my internet broke there, but I couldn't hear a two towards the end. But when we're using a verb which refers to connections, we should end with the two. So here it should have been something everyone could relate to. Now, coming to the impressive words and phrases, a lot of them, but some of them I've noted down. Prick, which has a lot of meanings, but in the context in which the speaker used, it means provoke to action. Deprecate, which was used in self-deprecating term, means to express disapproval of something. Ripped apart, to completely destroy. Mitigate, make something less painful or severe. Mingle, which we all know means to bring together, but added meaning is that to bring together without the loss of individual identity. Fumble, handle something clumsily. Contempt, the feeling that someone or something is beneath consideration. Sly, artful, which also means tricky. And unleash, to free from something to reveal. Two phrases which I really liked in the meeting. One was hands down, which is very commonly used. It means without any question. Another used was have a ball, which means to have an enjoyable time. Talking about the number of times that our word of the day was used, which was troll, Nimit, general evaluator, used it twice. Rupinder used it thrice. Victor used it once. And the grammarian, which is I, used it once. That's all for the grammarian report. Over to you, general evaluator.
Thank you, grammarian. And now let us move on to the R counter of the day, Samriddhi. Samriddhi, we cannot hear you. Can you please remove your headphones and try to speak directly from the device? Are you trying to speak? But unfortunately, we cannot hear you right now. So I believe this is a common problem scanning from the last meeting. If you are struggling as of now, I would request that we can come to you later and while you try to sort that out. Okay, let us come to the timer.
Sure. Thank you, General Evaluator, and hello all. So here I am sharing my screen. So how it is look like, the report. Everyone is in green zone today. So starting with the prepared speech, which is given by Rajesh and Saurya. They have completed their speech well in time. Now coming to table topic, there is a individual speaker as well as a joint speech. So again, here all of the speaker in green zone. So 3 or 4 are with some grace period. So here in Anand, who completed his speech is 2 minutes 30 seconds. 30 seconds is the grace period. Geeta Kashyap with 20 completed her speech within time. 24 seconds is the grace period. Speaker number 4 and 5, Shivam and Gaurav, they have completed their speech well in time with grace period of 11 seconds. And speaker number 9 and 10, Sir Singh and James, they have completed their speech with grace period of 16 seconds. Coming to evaluators, Ayushi and Ayushi completed her speech exact in 3 minutes. And Rupinder Singh, he has completed his speech with grace period of 23 seconds, again in time. Thank you very much, and over to General Evaluator.
Thank you very much for that very crisp report, and we are glad that everyone was in the green zone. Okay, so very quick check with the R counter once again. R counter, would you like to try once again? I believe we cannot still hear you. So if you have something to share, you can share your screen, and we would be good to see the report, and I can read it out on your behalf. Can we work on that? You can always type in the chat window if you are able to hear me. And yes, thank you for sharing your screen. And in the okay. So I can see here that first of all, thanks a lot for coming up with this beautiful report. And as I can see, and even I believe everyone of you can see your respective usage of filler words and crutch words. A few highlights, if I can just call it out, is about the Toastmaster today using and as a bit more. General evaluator himself is using others and as, ums, and ers. The table topics master is using more of column K. Would you like to just scroll up very quickly? Ums. Okay. Likewise, this it goes on for the prepared speakers as well. So not much there for the prepared speakers. For the first speaker, there were a few ums, but not much for Shaurya. So well done there. So I request Samriddhi to please share this with everyone for their benefit. So there she has also reported the total usage of each and every filler word. So thanks for that, Samriddhi. And can we just very quickly vote for the best tag player? Do we have the post ready? Yes, we have. Okay, let us vote. I must say a very good job done by all the three tag players. You all are very relatively younger to most of us in terms of the Toastmasters experience, but nevertheless, you did a commendable job, and I see that you all are maturing and evolving. Especially the timer, I must say that there was a new item thrown at you, that is the two people speaking on the table topic together, and but then you modified and compensated for it very well. The R counter, although you were facing the tech issues, and I would suggest you to please sort that out well in advance of the next meeting, because it is carrying from the last meeting. But you were proactive enough in calling out that you will be late to the meeting, and then you also took a handover from the stand-in R counter during the meeting, and then you incorporated that into your report as well. So good professionalism shown there. And the grammarian Manisha, word of the day was properly explained at the starting, but then I would have liked that you could have also encouraged people to use it more, so and acknowledge them with a thumbs up as a custom here. And then the report was well delivered. It was very much visible to us, but I would suggest you to use the standard CRC approach, that is sandwiching the recommendations and suggestions between the good usages and commendations for all. And of course we can also obviously encourage all the users who were using the good usages of grammar. uh, and that would be it for the tag team. I would like to very quickly evaluate the meeting as a whole and all the other role players, starting with the sergeant at arms. Club mission statement was properly read, and housekeeping rules were also properly read. The presiding officer was properly introduced as well, and meeting started on a high note because you maintained that energy, and your smile was the highlight, I believe. Very professional setup, and you set a good impression, first impression for all the guests and first timers as well. The presiding officer, you had an inspirational opening and you backed it up with some important announcements for the club. The guests were properly recognized, and the Toastmaster of the day was also properly introduced. You could have just added on to that introduction some insight connecting to the theme, but all in all, a great job done there as always. The Toastmaster of the day, the highlight of today's meeting, well, indeed, a very interesting and inviting theme chosen today, because it was a breath of fresh air really in these depressing times. We all had a great laugh, but more importantly we also had a great learning. It was a session in disguise, I believe. You cascaded that information which you learned in the Toastmasters workshop with us all, and I would invite you to our Sunday meeting to take up a session altogether on this humor aspect. And I was the first learner of your session today, and I believe many of you would be going back to our YouTube link to go back and learn on the all these tips and tricks of how to be a more humorous person. As far as the some suggestions or improvements are concerned, I would just like to highlight that you could be a little more mindful about the timings, as we are still lagging on the uh, lagging behind as far as the meeting agenda is concerned. You could have used a little less examples, or probably cut short your script a little bit for the larger cause of the meeting. One or two places you used examples which were not relatable to all, as we are having a global audience in this meeting. So likes of Sarah Bhai and Jane Bido Europe could be not relatable to all. Having said that, you introduced all the speakers very really well. I would have loved if you could also have a quick AV check for all the speakers. But all in all, a very good timing and delivery, and you were the right candidate to pick up this theme for today. It was a very usable session by you. Thank you. The table topics master, a very well conducted table topics, bringing in some fresh life to the table topics by introducing the two parts of table topics, making it more interesting. And you explained the second section well, but I would have loved if you could explain the table topics section altogether in a brief, for the benefit of the guests and the first timers as well. And would have loved if you could pick volunteers, if you could be more proactive and quick in picking up the first volunteer to kick off on a high energy note. But all in all, very well conducted table topics. I really loved it. A special mention for the tech master, who was indeed very proactive and in spotlighting and maintaining the decorum of the meeting. Thank you for making this meeting a very interesting, very nice and lively. I saw that throughout the meeting, a lot of video screens were on, which is evidence of people so engrossed in this meeting and abiding by the sergeant at arms rules which were laid. So all in all, a very high energetic meeting. I really loved it, and it was a pleasure to be your general evaluator for the day. Thank you, and back to you, Madam Toastmaster, to have your last laugh.
Not much time for a laugh, so I'm going to quickly wrap up the session with three questions. When you are crafting your humorous speech, answer these three questions. What amazed you? What amused you? And what moved you? You get answers to all these three questions. Find your niche, as mentioned before. Get an understanding of your audience, and then dive into it. Looking forward to humorous speech from all the members of Turning Point Toastmasters. And on that note, I would like to now hand over to our very loving, very caring, very handsome, very smart, very, very, very attractive, unique Katnoria. We are so lucky to have a president whose name is unique, who is unique, and who has unique abilities. Over to you, Unique.
Thank you, Toastmaster Gayatri, for that very flattering remarks. So, a lot to say about the meeting, but let's start with the polls for the best role player. So, I'm launching the poll first. And as you can see, you have the Toastmaster of the Day, Table Topic Master, and General Evaluator, and you can vote for the best role player. And meanwhile, I would like to first go back to our guests for their feedback. So in any random order in which I see you on my screen, I'm going to ask you. So first of all, I would like to welcome on stage somebody whom I missed in my opening address because she's such a frequent face, and I read her name and it was like, oh, she's just a member, so I just skipped her. But anyways, for your feedback, I would like to welcome on stage Toastmaster Geeta Kashyap.
Thank you so much, Unique. I almost feel like a member, so you don't need to apologize at all. It was really an amazing session. I loved to hear about the humor. And these days when we are unable to stroll outside, it's wonderful to hear these speeches on humor and enjoy it totally. And of course, the table topic also was unique this time. It was a little different, and I really enjoyed. Thank you so much. Over to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Geeta, and we enjoyed you having you here. Let's move on to our recurring guest again. So, Toastmaster Shivam, what do you have to say about the meeting today?
It was a great meeting altogether. I generally stroll out at this point of time because I stay in a gated society and you can go out inside the society, I would say. Although I would love to join the session. I missed the Sunday session, but it was a great session altogether. And I really like the new interesting addition in the table topic section. I really enjoyed the overall meeting altogether. I like to hear all of you guys. So it was great. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Shivam, and kudos to our table topic master for making it something different this time. And meanwhile, I would request Toastmaster Rupinder to please notify me when the certificates are ready. And now I would like to move on to our next. Aman, can we have you on stage and share your feedback?
This was a pretty good experience. I wasn't expecting any of this. I didn't know what I was coming through. But am I audible? Right.
Yeah, you're audible. There is slight disturbance in the background.
Yeah, they're watching a movie. I'm sorry about that. It was a great experience. The amount of feedback that everyone gets is amazing. It's just a lot of. I wasn't expecting everyone to give everyone feedback and everyone to get feedback. I mean, this is a great platform. I'm sure if I'm allowed to, I'll be coming back. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah, you're most welcome, Aman. It's not about allowing you. In fact, you're welcome to join it. Next, I would like to go to our guest, Toastmaster Diana. Could you please share your feedback about the meeting in a brief? I think Diana is typing in the chat window.
Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Diana, for joining. You are most welcome always, and please do join next time also. And now I would like, thank you, Toastmaster Diana. Now I would like to move to the next guest, Toastmaster James Abraham. James, if you could please unmute yourself and share your feedback.
Pretty interesting session. This is the first time I'm attending a session in this part of the country, and I have just moved from Bangalore, and so we had been seeing the Toastmaster sessions there in South, and this is my first experience of, and I must say it's not very different. I think this is interesting. It is fun as always. Toastmaster is a great place to be better. I think this continues, the saga continues, and 200 plus meetings, I'm sure is amazing. Great to be here and great to see all of you.
Thank you, Toastmaster James, and it was wonderful to have as well. I would like to move to our final guest, Toastmaster Victor Jenkins. Victor, if you could unmute yourself and share your feedback.
Okay, I'm unmuted. You can barely see me.
Yeah.
I appreciate coming to your meeting. It gives me a sense of being an international personality, which I like to be. And my only experience with Toastmasters from India has been the winners of the international speech contest. And I can see why Toastmasters from India win speech contests, because you actually do with the Toastmasters organization what needs to be done with it. You take on the roles professionally and you perform them skillfully. And I am sure I've never seen a Toastmaster of the day take the theme as seriously as Gayatri did today. All throughout the meeting, her theme was evident. And when we look back at this meeting years from now, the two things we'll remember is that Gayatri was the Toastmaster and that the theme was building on your humor. So thanks again for having me, and you can count on me coming back in the future.
Thank you, Toastmaster Victor, and it's very flattering for us that you are joining our meeting while you are driving, and that also from another country. So thanks for that. And the thing you mentioned, yeah, it was a great job by Gayatri again, but we have come to expect that from her. So without further ado, we will now move on to the announcement of winners and the certificates. So Toastmaster Rupinder, over to you. And we can unmute ourselves and clap loudly now.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. Let's start with the top 3 best table topic speakers today. And very happy to announce that the 3rd best table topic speaker award goes to Geeta Kashyap. Great job. Thank you for coming over. The second best table topic speaker today was Victor Jenkins. Driving about 10,000 miles away from us. Great job. And the best table topic speaker goes to someone who's moved in from Bangalore. Many congratulations,
James Abraham.
Thank you.
I have a special award for our speaker, Diana. A special mention for Diana McInroy. Diana, you are an inspiration, so please keep up the good work. Thank you very much. Moving on to our best auxiliary role player. Most welcome, Diana. Most welcome, Diana. Moving on to our best auxiliary role player. Once again, the butler did it, and this time the grammarian takes it. Many congratulations, Manisha Sabharwal. The best role player, once again, no surprises there, with the topic as serious as 50 Shades of Humor. Many congratulations, Gayatri Deshmukh. The best speech evaluator goes to Ayushi Kumar. Great job, Ayushi. Wonderful evaluation. And the best speaker All in the Valley of Death wrote the 600. By the way, there is a poem by the name of The Last of the Light Brigade by Rudyard Kipling that was written as a response to the charge of the Light Brigade. I shared the URL with Shaurya. I can share it with you guys also if you get a chance to have a look at it. But for now, many congratulations, Shaurya Chauhan. And before I close, the situation is quite dire in India, everyone. Please, for heaven's sake, stay safe. Our fellow member Haritika is going through a lot of family issues right now because her mom and her dad both are sick, and practically everybody in her family is sick right now, and she's having to tend to almost all of them. So whatever you do, please take due precaution. This is not a joke. Hospitals are running out of oxygen. There are no ventilators. There are no hospital beds. And the only way you can defend yourself is by staying safe yourself. So please, for the love of God, stay safe. Thank you. With that, back to the presiding officer.
Thank you, Toastmaster Rupinder, for that certificate announcement as well as giving a precaution to all of us. So now I would like to share a few links in the chat. So this is for people who are joining us for the first time or for the first few times and want additional info. So there is a YouTube link for the meeting today, so you can go back and watch. And there are also a few contact numbers which you can contact. So for the Sunday meeting, which Toastmaster name is mentioned, is starts at 1:30 on the Sundays. The link is shared as well as Toastmaster name is contact is shared. So in case you want any additional info. And for Thursdays, you have Madhav and mine contact there. And there is also a chat. There is also a link for a WhatsApp group which you can join via this link. This is our guest group, and all the updates are shared here, so you can check it out. And there are also some social media links to our channel, so you can check that out as well. And with that, I would like to break the fourth wall and talk with my YouTube audience for a minute. So for all the YouTube audience, we are done with the meeting for today, and do join us in the meeting next time rather than